Metropolitan Planning Organization Board meeting of November 9th, 2023 is called to order. I remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast and a video of the meeting will be available after the meeting is concluded on the county's website. At this time, I ask you all to please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we please have call the roll?
City Commissioner Scott Black.
Here.
Councilman Lance Smith. Mayor John Gary Cooper.
Here.
Commissioner Ron Oakley. Commissioner Seth Waitman. Commissioner Catherine Starkey. Commissioner Gary Bradford. Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Here.
And Chairman Matt Murphy.
Present. All right, I'm going to go to a call for public comment, and I'm pretty sure we have some public comment. Is that correct? Yes. Welcome, sir, and please state your name and address for the record.
Charles Carey, C-A-R-E-Y, at 16033 Wards Court in Dade City, Florida. I don't know where to start here. I just read recently about this fiasco of 54 and 41 and still not funded, and it's been delayed and delayed and delayed. People have fought, and the FDOT just backed away, unfortunately. Now, every time you back away, the cost is up. Now it's $260 million to deal with this, including $60 million to buy right away. That is unacceptable. I'm sure this won't happen in any other state. This is Florida, with this enormous growth in this county, and this intersection is coming worse and worse. They need to stop rezoning, at least until they get their act together, the state, to improve this intersection. I don't live over here. I do go through this intersection once in a while, not that often, but I understand this is horrible. I was going to talk about another intersection, but this is even more important to the county. My other intersection is at St. Joe Road and 21st Street in Dade City. It's becoming more a mess. It's a dog leg. And they're going to do a roundabout, I heard, but I haven't heard anything else on that. This intersection is becoming more problematic, where you have people trying to turn left, people trying to come in this way, and so forth. That's at St. Joe Road and 21st Street in Dade City, which is within the city limits. But it was the US 52 used to go through there. They changed 52, so now the county or the state doesn't maintain that intersection there anymore. It's the county or the city. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have any other public comment? Anyone signed up? No, hearing nothing. All right, we're going to move on now to approval of the minutes. The meeting minutes from October 12, 2023 MPO board meeting are not yet available and will be presented at the next MPO board meeting, which is scheduled for January 11th. Let's move on to the MPO Advisory Committee reports. Citizens Advisory Committee, Mr. Johnny Corr.
Good morning. At the November 1st, 2023 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, the CAC reviewed and recommended for approval 2 items. The first was the amendment to the Pasco MPO Professional Interlocal Agreement. And the second action item was the Pasco MPO 2050 LRTP Development Consultant Work Task Order, and you guys will see both of those today. There were also 4 presentations. The committee reviewed an overview of the Resilient Pasco project, and I would like to thank the Resilient Pasco project team for presenting. They presented at all 3 of our committee meetings, so I appreciate their engagement with our committees. The CAC also reviewed the FDOT and FTE fiscal year 2025 through 2029 tentative work programs, and you guys will also see those today. The MPO staff also presented the FDOT Target Zero initiative, and you will also get an overview of that today. Finally, the November CAC meeting was the last meeting of the year, and our chairperson, Ms. Sandy Graves, and our vice chairman, Mr. James Mello, have served their 2-year terms, so we will have new CAC chair and vice chair next year, and I just want to thank them for their commitment, and also thank all of the CAC members. We had a really good turnout for all of our CAC meetings this year, and I would like to thank y'all also for working on your CAC representatives this year. Are there any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Technical Advisory Committee. Mr. Clay Watkins.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. Clayton Watkins, Pasco County Engineering Services and TAC Committee Chairman. We too heard the 2 amendments for action items that you'll hear today regarding the amendment to the professional services agreement and the task order for the long-range transportation. Those were all approved unanimously. There was some just discussion between internal staff, making sure we have conversation on the comprehensive plan as the 2050 LRTP moves forward. We had a 3rd action item to vote on, which was the appointment of Mr. David Engel, Economic Growth Director, to the TAC Board. So he'll be up for your approval today. We heard the same presentations that Johnny just discussed to you earlier. We had another presentation given to us, which I believe you're hearing today, on the update from the 2050 LRTP, the socioeconomic numbers. And so we heard that. There was some discussion between our group regarding how the Live Local will affect with the economic numbers. Also, we had a discussion, there was some discussion that was brought to by David's group regarding their projections on the employment numbers. And then we were also asked if there is a way to understand the population growth and the employment numbers between Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas County. And that was all. Any questions?
Anyone? Commissioner Mariano?
Question.
Yes.
Clay, thanks for your service on the committee, and I've got a question for you. Are you familiar with the technique that's used by asphalt paving system for the spray jet pavers?
I have
Spray jet
seen the
paving.
presentation that they put on for you guys, I want to say a year and a half ago, but that's about all that I know about it.
Okay, because we've done it on Hudson Avenue. It was a really smooth project. We also did it on part of the Little Road as a trial run. And I think, as you know, if you go down Little Road, you can go right in the middle of those lanes and see how it's peeling right off. We had one section paved a few years ago from Foxhollow to the north, but the section to the south, that's going to need to get done, and I want to see that technology improved. There's a section coming up we're going to do in Bruce B. Downs through the county that the extra cost for doing a mile, just under a mile's worth of lane of the whole job was like $9,000. Now, if you haven't seen it, maybe we'll do another presentation with for the new members. When asphalt gets put down, usually you'll put down some tack, the truck will drive over it, lay the asphalt down, and then flatten it all out, smooth it all out. The way the spray jet works is they have one machine that's got the spray jet, the asphalt's in the same truck behind it, so when it sprays down the tack first, right behind it, the asphalt goes directly on, so nothing contacts between the two. It's a much better bond, it's a much easier job, less driving around, less tacking of trucks bringing stuff around because it doesn't spread anywhere because it's covered up. I'd like to see you guys look at that technology and make some recommendations to us. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on when we talk about some other things too, but I think it'd be great if the technical committee would look at it and make some recommendations for it.
Okay, I'll make a note, and I'll also maybe have some internal discussions with our group too.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anyone else?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, we have Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Ms. Tina Riso.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Silval could not make it this morning, but he provided a report for you guys. First off, I just want to say that this committee has just been really a great group of folks to work with. I've got quite the history in the cycling community, and they're probably one of the most diverse, diligent group of people, citizens to work with. each month. So just really appreciate them, and we look forward to the upcoming year and some of the great projects coming along as well. But we met on November 1st at Dade City. They approved the minutes for the previous month. We started something new with our BPAC that I kind of copied from the State Bike Ped Coalition community, and we dedicate each meeting to someone that was seriously injured or killed as a cyclist or pedestrian. And that first meeting, we dedicated to Lover Ebersol, who was killed on November 1st, 22, at Suncoast and Ridge Road. So we dedicated that meeting, and part of the discussion is how we can prevent these from happening and how we can make improvements along the way when we study what happens at these crashes as well. Ms. Gorman provided an update in October meeting, MPO meeting. Ms. Gorman described the need for the amendment for the Pasco MPO professional interlocal agreement, and the committee voted to recommend the amendment for approval. Mr. Ferry described the needed amendment for the task order completion of the 2050 long-range transportation plan. The committee also voted and recommended approval of that. Planning staff and long-range talked about the Resilient Project again as well, and the grant will help better serve the survived traumatic events, the floods and hurricanes. FDOT, Mr. Hackett, we got a little bit of different presentation for the work program, a little bit more bike ped significance, and you're going to hear some of that today. They were very pleased that some of the bike ped projects that are coming in the future work program. Mr. Kors talked about the Pasco County Traffic Request Form as a tool to report roadways that need attention. Several of our members have been using that already throughout this past year. Ms. Gorman discussed Florida Turnpike's Enterprise tentative 5-year work plan. You'll hear that today. We had quite a bit of discussion about that because we're looking for improvements underneath the Suncoast Parkway along 54 with the overpass construction at 54. Suncoast has been a big item for the BPAC for several years now. The next Tri-County BPAC was last week, and then Ms. Russo discussed Target Zero, which you guys are going to hear a little about today, and their next meeting is January as well. Any questions?
Commissioner Wakeman?
Thank you. So we talked about the bicycle and pedestrian safety, and we're building these multi-use paths. Has there been any appetite to talk to folks in Tallahassee about changing the language that allows cyclists to ride on major roadways where cars are driving? Or has that been looked at recently, or just kind of left alone?
So there's one major advocacy group that kind of is called a Florida Bicycle Association that deals with advocacy for cyclists, and that topic is usually not in favor of taking cyclists off the road, because some folks have no choice to be on the road to get from point A to point B. That's why our facilities need to be made safer across the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
so when you talk about cyclists, especially around Dade City where they're driving on the roads where there's no shoulders and it's narrow, when you talk about getting from point A to point B, we're not talking about point A to point B in this case. We're talking about people that just want to ride around, have some fun, and go. And something that I think should be looking at is like the Orange Trail, Orange Belt Trail. I've seen several communications with different people around the area where that thing should go. And I know we just spent a ton of money on the new Clinton Ave extension, the new State Road 52. It's a nice, flat, safe road where there's plenty of,
It's not flat, by the way.
well, it's far, compared to in front of St. Leo, it's flat. I'll just say that. And you have to deal with drainage there. So when we look at expanding that trail, I want us to go take a look at and break down these cost numbers, because if I've got an existing trail that's going to go from point A to point B, and it's going to go up and around, it's already built, and I don't have to build as many sections, just like the connection part of where the Orange Bear Trail, do I connect with it sooner, or do I go further and create that cyclist loop? Is that what I want to do with our money, or do I want to make it more efficient to go to where it's going to help people get from point A to point B? We're not building racetracks. We're not building for that. If you want to get into that world, let's talk to tourist development so they can build it. But if we're going to point A to point B, let's go find the dollar comparisons. I haven't seen any dollar comparisons out for any of them yet. And I got people just saying, I don't want it in my backyard. I want it away from here. And I think when we look at it dollar for dollar, let's go find out what we're really building, what we're really looking at.
Commissioner?
Thank you. To Chair Mariano's point, the identity of the trail this project is seemingly for an economic benefit, quality of life benefit, recreational benefit. And that's kind of the lens we're looking at this project through. But with what you described on the pedestrian safety piece, that's just for transient activity, seemingly the folks who are using their bicycles to get to point A to point B. They seem to be, the thought process seems to be running parallel, but I think there's two very different missions on those, on the projects and what the intent of the projects are. And I don't think that's wrong. So with that in mind, I'm kind of the thought process of if we're doing this as an economic driver and amenity to our community, that maybe the bicycle safety lobby or whatever they are, I mean, we kind of maybe need to take a look at, because it allows a recreational cyclist, and they'll do it, grown up with it. They may not necessarily follow the path that our taxpayer is going to spend millions of dollars on to build the trail. They may continue to ride in places that put them in danger. They're making a conscious choice and decision to take a path that could be a little hairy, and also put the people who are, they're also not breaking any rules, who are pulling cattle trailer or hay or just driving to and from home from groceries, and put themselves in danger. So, I don't know, just my thoughts on that. So.
They like the challenge, don't they?
Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. All right, we're gonna move on to action items now. We have three. So first one is First Amendment to the Pasco County MPO Professional Interlocal Agreement. Ms. Tania Gorman.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
here to discuss the First Amendment to the Pasco County MPO Professional Interlocal Agreement. Previously, on in May of 23, we brought to you our 4 general planning consultants for execution at the BOCC board. It was Benish, Fear and Pierce, Kimberly Horn, and Volkert. Unfortunately, the agreement inadvertently left out some provisions that we need to include, such as having the MPO executive director sign 4 task orders that are less than $50,000, how the MPO staff acquires the general planning consultant of choice, and also the DBE business language from Federal Highway. So we had to include those in our amendment. Now the amendment is ready for execution, and we're requiring that the MPO board review, approve, and execute this document.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, thank you. Next up is Pasco MPO 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan Development Consultant Work Task Order Approval. Whew, that was long. Mr. Scott Perry.
Mouthful. Good morning, all. As I've recently shared with this body, the MPO staff has begun the process of updating the MPO's long-range transportation plan, which we refer to as the LRTP. And the plan is required to be updated on a 5-year cycle. And as such, the current plan will expire next December. So that's when we will have to adopt a new plan. As such, the NPO has begun partnering with one of our general planning consultants, Kimberly Horn and Associates, to begin the process of updating the plan. As such, the NPO staff has already issued 2 task orders to Kimberly Horn. The first one was for the update of the plan's socioeconomic forecast data to the year 2050. And the second task order is to develop a public involvement plan for the long-range transportation plan. Those 2 task orders were for a smaller amount, and they were approved administratively. What I'm bringing to you today is a larger task order which will involve the remaining work to be performed on the plan. And we are also tasking Kimley Horn with this task. And it is a much as I said, it's a much larger one, and it is for the amount of $413,000, $412.22. And the details of the work task to be performed are in your packet. And it is anticipated that all of the work for this task and the others will be completed by June 30th of 2024. That's when our current Unified Planning Work Program expires, and as such, these tasks will also expire at that time. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner?
Used to be, I think we had Tyndale Oliver doing a lot of work for us. Are they still doing work for us, or is it?
Are they still doing work for the MPO?
Yes.
They were chosen as, well, Tyndale Oliver was purchased by a larger firm by the name of Benesh.
Okay.
And they have been contracted, they're under contract with us as one of our general planning consultants. They were not chosen for any of these tasks, but they are being considered for additional future tasks.
Okay. Well, Kimley Horn's a great company. I was just curious. That explains it. Thank you.
Anyone else, Commissioner?
I don't have this is more of a long-range planning conversation. And my favorite subject was brought up earlier, Live Local. Pasco has a potential Live Local project site coming in at 54 and 41, potentially on the southwest side of the road. If this goes through, and this happens, and we have no control over this, how can we plan to find the solution for the 5441 improvements that need to happen? So when we talk about our 5-year long-range plan, within a matter of months, there could be a crucial piece of property that could be used to improve that intersection, lost to multifamily development, and then what happens? So I throw that out there for thoughts on the matter.
Well, I'll let Tania speak to, there's nothing that can really be, the plan can't really address specific projects like that. But what the plan will do is, the plan will incorporate all of the existing data for the area, including the traffic counts and the population and the employment, and those will be forecast in the future. What the plan seeks to do is identify current and future anticipated transportation needs, and then identify projects which will meet those needs. So as part of that, the consultant will be analyzing the output from the regional travel demand model, and as part of the process, all of the needs will be identified and addressed, but it doesn't really go into a granular level. It really doesn't go down, doesn't drill down to the specific level of particular.
Land acquisition or what
Right.
might be needed to build. Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything?
So currently, as you know, this is one of our biggest projects in Pasco County. I've been working with FDOT to ensure information is garnered about the project. As you know, it's going into PD&E this month, so we are looking, that's a step forward. This project was very unusual as it had a task force in the beginning and a feasibility study, and also caused some minor delays. So now we're moving forward and we're looking at right-of-way in 28 and construction in 31. That's the tentative plan. However, we do have FDOT here today to discuss this further, because I think this needs some conversation at this time.
To your point, I think it's important that we need to know if we're going to potentially lose this site and if it's in your construction plan. I mean,
The long range.
ordinarily, it might not necessarily go down this path of losing the site to something that it's not zoned for. And it gives us time to prepare with what you're describing. So I think it's important that we talk with the stakeholders and the parties helping to build this intersection, that we understand this property, and if we are going to lose it, how it's going to impact what you're submitting to PD&E now, because it could have an impact, and we don't know what costs are.
Correct, and we are working with planning development to look with their comprehensive plan as well. So we were working in agreement with PDD. So to get this plans up and running, so we can look at the larger nature of what's going on in the county. So we can also look at some of the Live Local projects that are going on and how that will impact intersections, which is not out of the question as we're looking at our LRTP. Don't forget, will end next June. So we will have a chance to look at all the things and address some of these concerns that are coming up.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner?
I got David Goldstein in the audience. David, if you'd come up, I want to ask you a question, please. So with the Live Local legislation that went through, it affects your commercial sites, et cetera. Is there another land use like our employment center that we could use that would keep Live Local from being able to take sites like this one here?
What do you think about that? Probably not.
So they can take any site they want? I thought it said something like commercial or other
Commercial,
things.
industrial, mixed-use sites.
Oh, I'm thinking, I don't know what the site is zoned currently. Do you know, Commissioner? Is it C2? Is it?
Brian, do you know off the top of your head? It's zoned to where Live Local can take it. There's nothing we can do.
So what are the categories that they classify?
So you could rezone it to office.
Okay,
Office is probably immune from Live Local. But you might be effectively downzoning the property. You'd be doing it maybe against the property owner's consent. And so I don't know if that would create a cause of action against the county. Because if it's C2 now, and we downzone it to office, they may argue that we've taken away their C2 rights.
so that's why the employment center thing makes me think that may be a better way to go.
Employment center is a future land use. It's not a,
No.
I mean, so.
Is there a category we can
The
create?
local- The reason I said no originally is because employment center is, the Live Local says ignore land use.
Okay,
You don't, Live Local basically says, it doesn't matter what your comp plan says. So you only look at zoning.
okay.
So the site is zone C2. I'm assuming it's.
It is,
it's
C2.
Okay, so, the only thing that I think might be safe from Live Local, or the Live Local Act it's got a lot of ambiguities in it, so let me start with that, okay? But I would say that probably PO1 and PO2 would be safe from Live Local.
Okay.
Interestingly, residential zoning districts are also safe from Live Local, but I'm not sure that's an appropriate site for residential, so, to the commissioner's point, I don't know that we want residential there.
My greater concern is it impact a significant project that this county and this board has been
I'm not sure
trying
that,
to figure out.
so, the reason I struggled in the beginning, because I'm not sure that land use is your solution here. I think your solution here is probably advanced right-of-way acquisition. If we think that this site is going to be needed for the interchange, we probably need to be looking at whether the state or county, and the state maybe can speak to this, when we were doing the widening of 52, we did a lot of advanced right-of-way acquisition before we ended up widening the road. So DOT and the county have done that before. So if we're pretty confident this site is gonna be needed for the interchange, that is an option to do advanced right-of-way. Because I get the commissioner's point about Live Local, I get your point about Live Local. I'm not sure that, you might be able to deny the Live Local project under the theory that it's needed for the interchange, but ultimately, the property needs to be acquired, it sounds like. whether it's commercial or whatever the zoning is. If we need it for the interchange, we just need to look at acquiring it. So-
Timing is of the essence here. If we think we're going to need this, we need to start looking at it today because it's game time.
Yeah, so, and when you go to acquire it, I mean, the issue about whether they're entitled to do live local or not may come up in the eminent domain process. I mean, when you're looking at what is the highest and best use of the property when you go through eminent domain, but my position is that you should be acquiring it under its current zoning, which is C2. So, but I don't know if DOT has funds to start doing advanced right-of-way acquisition for this interchange yet. I don't know if the county has funds to do advanced right-of-way acquisition. It is part of the SIS, it is an SIS facility. We have an SIS portion of our mobility fee that we collect, which, assuming that's available, that might be something that we could use to do the advanced acquisition. But probably need DOT to address whether they've got funds for it.
So Justin Hall, FDOT, probably the greater challenge for us than the funds would be the fact that we don't have an approved NEPA document yet. So that's the step that we're working on right now, is I don't have an approved document. So the feasibility does show, the feasibility does show that we need the northern portion of that property, and it's also been identified as a potential pond site. But until we have the NEPA document resolved, I wouldn't be able to acquire that property. We could approach them to see if they're a willing seller. You know, if the property owner is a willing seller, that's a little bit of a different story. But I wouldn't be able to move forward with eminent domain until I have an approved NEPA document, because that would be what we would need in court to justify our acquisition.
So, I mean, the board could direct our real estate department to contact the owner and see if they are a willing seller. And then we can look at, between us and DOT, about whether we can come up with the funds to do advanced acquisition of that site. I agree with DOT that if it's a voluntary transaction, we buy land all the time for roads as voluntary transactions. We did that for Overpass Road, we've done it on 52, so I suspect if the property owner is trying to sell it for apartments, that means they probably don't want it anymore for whatever its current use is. So it's kind of on the market, I'm guessing. So maybe there's an opportunity there for us to be purchasing it now, certainly before it becomes some other use.
Okay.
So we need a motion to explore this opportunity?
So, yeah, but it's probably gonna be your real estate department that would be doing that. I don't know that they're here. But if you wanna go ahead and make that motion, I'm sure we can get it, that
So the
request.
motion would be, my motion is to ask the real estate department to take a look at this potential live local impacted site to see if it's a necessary acquisition for the improvements of 41 and 54 for DOT in Pasco County.
And to contact the landowner. to see if
Contact
they're
the
willing-
landowner.
If they're a willing seller.
For a willing sale, what he said.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
But I think that's the proper course. Zoning is not gonna help you in this one.
Just really quick for the record, would you like that presentation when we come back in January? From real estate?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Next up, appointment of new member to the MPO Technical Advisory Committee, Mr. Scott Ferry.
Before we
Do
do
we
that,
vote on
Mr.
that?
Chairman,
Oh, we
the
skipped that one,
task
sorry.
order is still a standing action item, so
So can I
unless
get a
anybody
motion
else has
for-
questions.
Mr. Chair, move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, again, you.
So we
Thank
come back
you.
in 2050 to make sure it's all been completed.
That's right.
There was a time when I got started in this business where these kind of things, oh yeah, I'll still be around for those things, but now getting to the point, I say, maybe so.
Okay. Moving on to the next action item, the Pasco MPO staff recommends the approval of Mr. David Engel to the Pasco MPO Technical Advisory Committee. Mr. Engel is the director of the Pasco County Office of Economic Growth, and he is also a certified planner by the American Planning Association with 30 years of planning experience. Mr. Engel previously chaired the Technical Advisory Committee for the St. Lucie Transportation Planning Organization and is well-versed in how and where Pasco County is developing and how development impacts the county's transportation system.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, moving on to status reports and presentations. We have 4 presentations on the agenda. The items are for information only. No action is required. First up is the MPO 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan Socioeconomic Forecast Data Development Overview Presentation. Mr. Brett Camp. How you doing today?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. My name's Brett Com. I'm with Kimley Horn. I'm a transportation and GIS planning consultant. So I wanted to come here and present the 2050 SE data process for you all. Okay, so this first slide here, we have our forecast variables that we use for the 2050 SE data. As you see at the top, there is the population. We use household and group quarters together to determine that. Next is a household, which is a combination of workers with children, workers without children, and retired is all combined in the household. And then employees are broken into 3 categories. That is industrial, commercial, and service. And then below those, we take into account school enrollment, of course, and hotel motel. And then on this next slide is we like to base our population control totals off of BEBR, which is Bureau of Economic Business Research out of UF. As you can see, there are various categories that can be used in here. There is BEBR low, medium, high, but we choose to use the average of medium and high. We've found that works the best because it takes into account that really, really, really high number and that mid-range number and kind of averages out the middle. So you can see from there, in 2019, we're at about 561,891 to a growth of 911,650. And I'll go over that a little bit more later in the presentation. On this next slide is our employment control totals. As was mentioned earlier in the TAC presentation that happened last week, there was some conversation about the general growth of the employment in this community, so we wanted to take into account. So here we have an employment base number of 187,000 in 2019 to a growth of 334,750 in 2050. So that's a pretty significant growth of 147,750. And then you can see in the industrial, commercial, and service, it's broken down in those various categories for about 43,000 in industrial growth, 10,000 commercial, and 94,000 in service over the years. And this is a more of a linear chart of the population growth on those BEBR numbers. I like to show this because as a GIS person, I'm very visual. So it kind of shows how the numbers are broken out between the average of high and medium. So you can see the red line is the number that we're going to use with the expected growth of 911,650. And then here is the employment control total chart. As I explained earlier, we're expecting significant growth. You can see in the chart on the right, about 147,750,000 over the span from 2019 to 2050. And that's broken out in 5-year increments, how we do the forecasting. And now we get into more of the process and what I really do in the SE data development. I do a lot of the data crunching, and this is kind of the process that we go through. So here at the top in phase 1 is we get our countywide control totals, which I was saying is the BEBR average of high and medium, and then the Z data that we're provided. And then we develop our planning areas in Centroid. We inventory approved developments, because of course you guys will know best what's going to be approved in the coming years. So we want to make sure to incorporate that in our forecast so it makes sense. We develop our densities and intensities, and then we calculate our developable acres. And I'll go over that a little bit more and how I do that in GIS in a little bit. Our base data this time is 2019, and then we break that out in 5-year increments until we get up to 2050. And then finally, phase 3 is where we kind of do our cleaning up of the data, our fine tuning, and that's when we have our review meetings. And I've been in lots of conversations with Scott, planning in general, to make sure we're getting everyone involved and getting all of the input for everyone to make sure this is a good forecast. And then after there, we will make sure to include school enrollment, hotel, motel. We'll meet with key players in schools and make sure to get input from them on what they expect the development will be. And then finally, we'll do our minor adjustments to the forecast, and then we'll have that finalized SE data to use for the LRTP. And then here is kind of the GIS evaluation. I won't go into too much details about this, but it kind of gives a little bit of background. So first, we'll take the existing land use. This is the future land use of the area. And then we'll pile on the road network. We'll understand where that is so we can use that for development. And then from there, we'll take that existing population number, which is those controlled total numbers that we've determined. And then we'll use a TAZ centroids, which really breaks out our gravity model to understand whether development is going to occur. And then we'll develop our planning areas, and then we can understand where everything is going to really affect in those planning areas. And here is the allocation process. I mentioned this a little bit before. We definitely want to take into account known approved developments, because that is not going to be known in just the data that we're provided, because we're using parcels, future land use, wetlands, and all of that to understand where we can develop, but approved developments will need a little bit of involvement from the stakeholders. And then we use a gravity model. So that pretty much means the bigger and closer the development or the population, the more attractive that is to bring in more growth. And then, so review process tools. These are some items that I've kind of built out in the past couple of years to help our stakeholders really provide input. I put together map exhibits. I have this editor spreadsheet based on the transportation analysis zones that they can go in and really kind of fine tune. If there's too much growth, too little growth, they can really put in the number that they expect. And then I created an interactive web GIS map that you can zoom in, see the TAZs and where the growth is occurring. So it's really easy to fine tune. And then finally, next steps. After I finalize my GIS analysis and understand the base data and our base 2050, we're going to conduct some review workshops. We're already in talks of getting those on the books because we know everyone's schedules are pretty busy, so we're going to get those scheduled sooner than later. And then we're going to figure out our school enrollment allocation, and then we'll finalize the report, and then finally we will transmit the demand forecasting model for FDOT, and then we'll finally use that in the LRTP. And that is all I had right now. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions? Well, you're getting off easy.
Well, thank you very much for your time
Thank
today.
you.
I appreciate it.
All righty, next up, we have the FDOT fiscal years 2025 through 29 tentative work program presentation. Brian Hunter?
Hopefully I get off that easy as well. Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. So today I'm going to give you a quick update on the 25 to 29 tentative work program. I'll start off with a brief description of what the tentative work program is, how we prioritize projects, go over the projects that we've added to the work program for Pasco County, a little bit of the timeline that we have on the tentative work program, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. So the tentative work program, there's about 10 slides that have all these fancy animations, but what it is it's really our 5-year plan of the work that we're going to do in Pasco County. And that is whether it's working with our modal partners like Zephyr Hills Airport or Go Pasco, or it's a transportation project that FDOT or the county's doing, and it includes all the phases from planning to design, right-of-way, construction, and maintenance on some of those facilities. So we work on a 5-year plan. Right now, we're working on our 24 through 25 or 28. Fiscal year 24 is going to end soon, so we need to add 29 to that, and that's where most of the projects are going to be programmed that we'll talk about. So that once we're done completing the tentative work program, we get comments from the MPO and citizens. We adjust it as necessary. We submit it to the legislature. If they approve it and it gets signed by the governor on July 1st of 2024, it'll become the adopted 25 through 29 work program. These are the programming strategies that we have. Our first priority is to always preserve our existing projects. If something has cost change, our first priority is to add funds to that, or if the scope changed and we need to add funds to it to make sure that that project is whole. The second is we move on to the next phase of a project. So if we've had design funding and we need to add right-of-way funding to it, and it's the appropriate time to do so, we move those projects forward with a hopeful goal of moving to construction on those. And then the third priority is to add those new projects to it. Where we get the projects is MPO priorities. Regional priorities, that's from the SCTPA, the TMA, the list that you guys have produced, your Pasco County list of priority projects. The SCTPA has their regional priority projects. And then we also have the FDOT and SIS, Strategic Intermodal System priorities. So in this presentation, I'm gonna just talk about the projects that have either are brand new, they've had some significant change to them, whether it was financial or schedule-wise, or anything that we think is of interest to you guys that may have had some sort of an update. If there was a project that was in the previous work program presentation that I don't mention today, that doesn't mean that it's been removed or anything like that. It just means there's no significant change. So we have a couple hundred projects in the district. I think it's 500. So if I tried to talk about them all, we'd be here till Tuesday, and I don't think anybody wants that at all. So we do have 25 projects. I'm probably gonna just gloss over some of them because they're standard transportation projects. The ones that I think you guys would like a little more in-depth information, if there's something unique on it, I will provide that as necessary, but I'm always happy to answer any questions. Each one of the projects will be grouped by project type. So this first one is planning. You can see it on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And if there's a little Pasco County MPO logo above the project itself, that means it came from your list of priority projects. So on the planning side, we have the funding that is provided to the MPO for their daily activities. We added that to 29. That is funded every year. So this is just the new piece of that. On capacity, a lot of these are going to be MPO priority projects. We have US 301, add lanes. Right-of-way was added to that in fiscal year 29. Old Pasco Road, right-of-way was added in 26, and construction was added to 28. That is going to be a project that is delivered by Pasco County with some financial assistance from us. We also have the collector distributor roads for I-75, I-275 that were previously planned. We had to move those out of the 5-year work program because of some SIS reprioritization. And then 54, 41, or 41 at 54, we had deferred the right-of-way to fiscal year 28 on that. It's a lot tied into what we've already talked about. We need to make sure that we have the finalized federal required NEPA documents, and then we'll roll into design. And so the right-of-way, it made sense to put it in the year that we'd be most likely to be able to use it. And then here's just 4 resurfacing projects. I think there's 8 in total that'll be going on. The one that's on the priority project is 56 from Bruce B. Downs to Meadow Point Boulevard. And then the other ones are 54 and a couple on 41 as well. 3 more resurfacing projects, US 98, Alt 19, and I-275, I-75 area down there. And then these are the bike ped projects that we've programmed here. There's a number of those in Pasco County.
Sure.
Commissioner Mariano?
Could we just back up to the repaving?
Absolutely, if I can, hopefully that's, all right, that's the right button.
All right. And on repaving, Bruce B. Downs was mentioned, and we've got a section, the county's going to be doing Bruce B. Downs coming up in December. It's a section from County Line Road to the north, 0.95 miles. I mentioned it earlier. And I'm going to be, I've got our team here. I got Jason here, Ainsley here. I saw Branford, I think, walk in too. And we've had presentations a year and a half ago. I think DOT was with us when we did the MPO, when we had a local company, Asphalt Paving Systems, come in and show us their spray jet technology. I was concerned of what the cost really would be. The way we did our bidding is we could add it if we wanted to. If we didn't want to add it, we don't have to. The difference in the quality of the product to me is like phenomenal. When I look at a mile's worth of road for being a cost of, and it's got to be 6-lane road from County Line Road, I believe, going up, to be only like $9,200. To me, it just makes so much sense not having trucks drive over tack and going, and doing it. So I would like to have us have a dialogue to add that into these things for such a small amount of money, bringing it forward. When I look at, I was watching, we've probably driven down 41 several times, and recently I'd driven, and they had put tack down on 41 all the way through. The tack sat there overnight because the rains came in and they didn't pave. They had to come back the next day. Now, I guarantee if they had to re-tack again, they probably spent just as much money re-tacking again as you would have spent if you just did this thing in one shot. So knowing how this can happen continually and we get a worse product, the more you're putting more tack down over again and people driving over it or trucks driving over it, I want to work with you guys to try to find out what we need to do to get us to say, even if you're not going to do it the rest of the state or the rest of the district, I want us to have that option to say, let's go put this in, let's go look at the cost difference would be. Because if you think about it, to get this truck, and they've got one in New Jersey, they want to bring it down for this one job just to kind of like show us again what they can do. If we get the truck here and it's only the difference of probably like 1/10 of 1% to do the job and get a better product, I want to take that step.
So the department has standard specifications and an approved product list that we'd have to make sure that that's on there, but it's something we can take a look at and carry on that conversation with you.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Chair, on this next slide, this slide here, Mr. Turner.
Yes.
The US 98, US 2, from north of Long Avenue to south of US 98. That's the US 98 6 miles north of Dade City, or the US 98 1 mile south of Dade City?
I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'll go back to the bike ped projects. We have a number of them. A lot of these were also on your priority list. And so we have Perrine Ranch Road construction added to 29, and then Pasco Elementary sidewalk. That one is a Safe Routes to School project with design in 27 and construction in 29. Pasco County sidewalk gaps, we added design to 25 through 29. Each year we have some design funding, and then we have construction funding in 25, 28, and 29. And those are projects that we submitted a list to the MPO that says these are the state roads here in Pasco County. We have a sidewalk gap that exists, and so the MPO has gone through and prioritized those for us to fill in. I think one of the things they're looking at is a high injury network to make sure that we fill in those gaps that are most critical for Pasco County, and since the MPO is the best resource for that, we're thankful for their participation. We also have a couple of additional crossings that'll be installed on US 19. I think we have funding for 4 of them, and the locations are going to be determined at a later date. We do have an earlier project that's going to be installing 4 pedestrian crossings on US 19, and so this will be in addition to those. So that one is designed in 27 and construction in 29. And then we have a landscaping project on I-75 at Overpass Road. That is going to be construction next year. And then on the technology side, we have a wrong way vehicle detection system. It's north of Dade City. So.
Okay. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later too.
All right, cool. I think this is probably the last slide, so we can slide back to the on the projects. So wrong way vehicle detection systems, we are going to be installing those in 26. This should finalize or get every ramp in Pasco County to have wrong way vehicle detection signage in the system out there. Then we have automated traffic signals 41 from all the way up to Hernando County from Hillsborough County, and then a system, same system on 52 from Hicks to 41. And then here's the total funding for Pasco County. It's a little over $400 million. The different categories in there, they're a pretty good representation. There are some challenges, the way that our financial management system works. When we do capacity or resurfacing, we do put in bike and pedestrian safety features as well as motorist safety improvements. And we can't really capture in that because if the work mix, the way our financial management system works is the work mix is over 50% of the project, which most of the time construction or resurfacing is going to be the major work mix. We can't capture the investment that we are, or the system doesn't capture the investment that we are making in safety. So take some of those and understand that it's much larger investment than those, but that's wrapped up into the bigger projects. And then we also are showing $54 million for Go Pasco and $5 million at Zephyr Hills Airport. Here's the schedule. We held our online public hearing about 2 weeks ago. Public comments are due on the 13th, so next week. And then any MPO objections that you guys may have would be due on the 20th. The tentative work program will go to the legislature and the Florida Transportation Commission in the spring of next year. And then July 1st, we will have the adoption of the work program. And just a quick reminder to everybody listening, arrive early or leave on time, or get there a little late. That's not as important as you getting there safely. So please drive safe, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And I'll scoot back to the...
Oh, we can talk about it later.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then I'll scoot back to my safety slide so we can...
Thanks, Lou.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman?
Mariano?
Yeah, John, yesterday we had a meeting, which I greatly appreciate. I think you're doing a great job, and I love the way you're focused on getting stuff done. Can you share the slide with that bridge concept I was talking about? There's a place in Kissimmee where they had done a trail going across. It looked like a little bit more elaborate on the edges, but the structure of it going across the bridge itself looked to be inexpensive in a sense compared to the $10 million price tag we're hearing. So I don't know what DOT looks at when they look at the overpasses, and maybe it's a conversation with the Turnpike Authority too coming up, so I'm just going to throw it out there because I know it's got to be in the MPO plan. Do you have that bridge thing you can show up? Okay. So, you know, driving up, if you drive up in the Suncoast Parkway, you see some massive overpasses for wildlife corps, et cetera. That cost a fortune. We're looking at doing one at 54. We're looking at doing one at 52 as well, maybe Tower Road someday. And from the prices that we're seeing, I'm just wondering if we should maybe take another look at that, a deeper dive into it to find out, can we build it cheaper? Can we use a different technology than what's being proposed and what's been done? Like this one right here, now, take away the circles around, but it's, at least if getting down to a certain point, I got to think it's worth taking a look at. Have you guys looked at that at all, to that type of construction, compared to what you've already programmed for us?
I'm not certain if we've looked at this particular type of construction, but we do look at anything that is going to be able to make us or allow us to move a project quicker or less expensive for a safe infrastructure. So it's definitely something we can take a look at. The clear span, depending on the individual project, might, if it's only up to 250 feet, I could see some of those being right at that limit. But yeah, we can take a look at this. Thanks.
Okay. If you could, you know, work with Turnpike Authority, work with our staff, and
yeah, we'll
see if there could be a savings there, and we might have to, with a cheaper product, actually, we can get them done quicker and maybe more of them.
Yeah, I'll pass this along to our structures folks and see what they have to say.
Okay. And had a recent conversation with some folks, and I know you guys are aware of it, but US 41 in Florida all the way to Detroit, there's only one section that's 2 lanes. That section runs from State Road 52 up to County Line Road. DOT did a study on it from years ago. I would like you guys to work with our team too, to kind of like say, what would it take to bring that project forward with the design you have? It might be less expensive, and let's try to get that rolling. That could be even a project for the federal government to fund on a separate way with all the stuff that's been done.
Yeah, we've heard a lot recently about the 41 and the 2-lane section. We can take a look at it and see if there's any way that we can move that project forward. It's the same problem we have with everything. It's all funding constraints, but we can see if we can, there's any way to kind of piece it together and make it work.
Okay, appreciate you looking at it. Thank you.
And back to the pedestrian bridge, I know that's one of the big hurdles in Newport Richey on 19 for the Marine Parkway intersection that we have on our list. It's just cost. I mean, it's, you know, especially for a small city, we're definitely going to have, you know, help from outside, but the price tag on it is just crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's other options, I definitely would love to see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna, can you email me? All right, thank you. I was gonna try and remember Continental, but if I can.
Yeah, and there could be other ones out there too, but just, like I said, it looked one-piece construction going through compared to the big overpass with the wildlife corridor. Let's just get people across the way and make it work.
Yeah.
I did have one more thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I had come across some folks that either new property owners or more accessible property owners over on the Newport Richey side of the Cody River underpass that possibly could come to the table. Haven't talked to them directly, but I have talked to Tim Lowe, who I've known for many years at Catches, and the Catches bought the American Marina beside it in Port Richey. Bridge Street runs in the center. I had conversation with them probably 6-8 months ago, maybe even longer, and I thought we were going to try to make something happen. What I'd like to do, permission with the MPO, is get with DOT, get with our MPO team, the city's planners, whoever you want to bring to the table, because obviously Sunshine Law, we can't be at the same table. And let's see if we can make something happen where we can get both those parties together, because we get the under part done and those agreements in place, we can make that thing happen probably less expensively and really make it come together. So I think the hurdles we can put away, but if the MPO is okay with it, let me start that up and let's see if we can make that conversation happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely for that.
Okay. You want to make a motion? Should we make a motion for that, or we just do it?
We're willing to sit down at the table on that one as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just do it then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All righty, thank you.
Thank you. I didn't get it as easy as the gentleman before me.
No,
That wasn't
did
too
not,
bad. Thanks.
All good. All right. Next up is Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, fiscal years 2025 through 29, tentative work program presentation. Mr. Fine. How you doing?
Good morning. My name is Siasi Fine, and I'm with the Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. Today, I will be discussing the Turnpike's tentative work program. So, in the Pasco County area, the Turnpike is proposing to fund $49.3 million in major projects. As part of the Florida Department of Transportation, Florida's Turnpike Enterprise considers the 5 pillars of the DOT compass when building our work program. The pillars are safety, resiliency, supporting a robust supply chain, technology, and workplace development. And this is built around our communities. As one FDOT team, we follow the department's mission and vision as we meet the state's transportation needs, ensure value to our customers, protect investors, and manage the Turnpike in a business-like manner. We do all this by providing customer-oriented, environmentally sound, and user-financed facilities. Florida's Turnpike system consists of limited access facilities and provides Florida's residents and visitors with a safe, efficient, and affordable means of travel. Turnpike facilities are in 6 FDOT districts and in 20 counties in Florida. In Pasco County, we have 20 miles of the existing Turnpike of existing turnpike managed toll facilities. So to help meet the state's transportation needs, the turnpike primarily receives funding through user tolls and concessions at our service plazas. According to our bond covenants, we must pay for operation and maintenance costs first. So that includes the cost to collect and process toll payments. Then we must pay debt on our bonds issued to construct major projects. It should be noted that due to our high credit rating, the turnpike has historically benefited from some of the lowest borrowing costs in the toll industry. So after that, we invest into renewal and replacement projects. So these renewal and replacement projects are our resurfacing and any recurring improvements on our roadways. Finally, the turnpike uses the remaining funds to pay for capital improvement projects. These capital improvement projects are our widening and interchange projects. The turnpike has various ways of determining how projects get funded depending on the project type. All our projects must demonstrate a transportation need, and then based on that transportation need, these projects are prioritized accordingly. Each year we look at observed traffic data and future projections across the entire system. So that's any of our managed roadways from North Florida to South Florida. We also consider environmental and economic feasibility. But of course, what's most important to the turnpike is stakeholder input, which we receive throughout the complete project development process. On my part, I come to MPO meetings and I listen for any questions or concerns. So before I actually present my presentation, I would like to go over this green document right here. So this green document is the Florida's Turnpike's tentative work program summary for District 7. So these are projects that we have in the District 7 area, in Hillsborough, Pasco, and the Hernando Citrus areas. So a little bit about this document. It works in 3 parts. What are the 3 parts? The first part is this first table on page 1. These projects are current construction projects that are occurring in the current fiscal year. Then going through page 2 to page 5, these projects are the body of the document. These projects have construction funding within the 5-year work program associated with these projects. And then on page 7, that final table, is projects that have design, PD&E, or right-of-way funding, but do not have construction funding associated with these projects. So these projects, you can look forward to joining the main tables when they receive construction funding within the 5 years.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
So when I look at the front page of this document, talk about resurfacing Veterans Expressway Spur 568, you go MP0 to MP3. What does that mean?
So that's milepost 0 to milepost 3.
Oh, I understand that. Where is it?
So if there's not really a land marker and we can use a mile marker, that's usually what we list instead of like a roadway that might be adjacent.
So do you have a map to show what these things are?
Yes, so that map is on page 6 of this document.
Page 146 in your packet.
So I believe, yeah, in the 568 shield is right over the roadway, but it's where that white dot is to the left and to the right, right of the shield, that other white dot.
So it really doesn't tell us.
We have a pointer, a laser pointer?
I mean,
where that shield is, basically where the resurfacing is.
That's Hillsborough.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, interested in really the Pasco projects. Thinking.
Oh, okay, Johnny says
Another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of unraveling that happens. I mean, you have done, how long ago did you last resurface the Suncoast? These parts you're doing now?
So we have current resurfacings, programmed in the document right now. So those are either going to happen or are scheduled to be under construction within the current fiscal year.
So my question is, like, how long ago did you last resurface, and how long has it lasted?
I would have to find specific information on that.
Okay. Have you looked at spray jet technology?
No.
Okay. I'd like to probably set a meeting up with our staff, your staff, and those people, and kind of look at that, because if you're going to spend all this money, and you can use better technology, and even if we had to go look at what the extra cost would be for us,
Mm-hmm.
judging how cheap it was to do that extra mile for $9,000, whereas we wouldn't have to suffer through the unraveling, but to get a better product at the end, I'd rather even take a look at putting some money into it to get that to happen. Next question for you. As far as projects go, I know if you get off the Suncoast Parkway, coming from the north at 54, it's like tough to get out, and the traffic backs up like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You did a good job. You're doing the other side on the south part coming. If you're coming off from the south, coming up from Hillsborough, you've made some improvements there. That's great, but I think you've got to look at the other side as well to do that. Is that anywhere in the plan?
So we currently have an active PD&E study that goes from Van Dyke Road in Hillsborough County to State Road 52 in Pasco County. The primary work mix that we're looking at is widening the Suncoast Parkway, but we're also looking at other roadway improvements that we can incorporate.
All right, so would that off-ramp be in that study, or can I make a suggestion that we go look at that, because that is something that needs to get done? It's backing up traffic for no reason.
So I could take your comment and forward it to our PM of that PD&E study.
Okay. Couple other things. Cruise Lake, you guys looked at doing that interchange a while ago, and you say when you look at the need as far as what's needed before you put an interchange in, and we're very thankful, by the way, to have the Ridge Road off-ramps done. It was an immediate reliever for us. So the need at Cruise Lake before was one thing. Now we've got companies like Garage Plastics coming in. We've taken 300 acres of one area to make it commercial. I've got a development coming in, so you won't see the need right now in your studies. Kimley Horn may be putting those together for DOT. Do you look at what's future, what's coming up when you look at need?
Yes, we look at, we project out, we plan for any traffic that might come onto the roadway. But if that, what was the roadway that?
Cruise Lake?
Cruise Lake.
It's between State Road 52 and County Line Road.
So we actually do have a process of studying interchanges. And it's really an application. I could forward you that application so that we could possibly get that work mix and study the feasibility of that interchange.
And again, you've studied it already. It was a few years ago.
Mhm.
It's now changing what's going on up there. Now with County Line getting an interlocal agreement with Hernando County to get done, other improvements along 52, that corridor is going to get busier. We're going to look at doing some, like I said, a lot of acreage has changed up there, a lot of developments coming in there. So the numbers you were using before won't be the same. You've got a lot of data already, but I want you to use the new data to take another look at it. So if you want to get us the application, that'd be great.
Okay.
Or if you can just add on to what you've done and just kind of update it.
Yeah, I think the application would probably be the best way to handle that.
Okay. And I think if Commissioner Starkey was here, she'd say, let's go look at the Tower Road, Rangeland, which is just north of 54, and kind of let's get that application and let's look at that one too.
And that will be part of the active PD&E study that I brought up before.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so looking at the projects that are included in my presentation. So there are two projects in Pasco County right now. The first project is the resurfacing of the Suncoast Parkway from milepost 28 to milepost 37. So milepost 28 is actually the Hillsborough-Pasco County line around that area to State Road 52 around that area. And that project has construction funding in fiscal year 2026. Next, we have the resurfacing of the Suncoast Parkway from milepost, I flipped these. So the first project, that goes from State Road 52 to the Hernando-Pasco County line. The second project, which is the resurfacing of the Suncoast Parkway from milepost 17 to milepost 28, which has construction in fiscal year 2025, that goes from the Hillsborough-Pasco County line to State Road 52. So, for more information on all projects in the Turnpike's tentative work program, you can visit the FDOT Work Program Public Hearing website and download the District 7 Public Hearing Report when it is available. It is available now. Turnpike's tentative work program projects can be found in this document or on our website at floridasturnpike.com. So before I conclude my presentation, I'd actually like to share a safety minute with the board. So the Florida's Turnpike would like to encourage our customers with disabled vehicles on our roadways to stay safely in your vehicle if possible and wait for help instead of getting out of your vehicle on our high-speed roadways. Turnpike's traffic management staff are watching the cameras 24 hours a day and will deploy a road ranger or an FHP officer to assist you quickly. You also have the option of dialing *347 or *FHP, and you can request for a road ranger or an FHP officer to come to your location. But with that being said, I'd like to thank you all again for the opportunity to present, and I will take any questions if there are any.
Questions?
I'll fire one more question.
All right, Commissioner.
That's a great thing as far as hitting *347 or FHP. Do you have signs out there for that yet?
I would have to, I'll go back with our folks and see. I know I've seen signs in my area, in the Orlando area, but I'll see if we have any on the Suncoast Parkway.
If not, I'd recommend we put them out there. It sounds like a great service.
Sure.
Anyone else? All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Target Zero, Ms. Tina Russo.
So we're going to finish with our safety message as well, like Turnpike did and FDOT. So starting in January and February, you're going to start hearing about our performance safety measures, and something that has kind of shifted a little bit from at the state level and the local level. You've heard Vision Zero quite a bit, and it is a federal type program. But DOT in this past year or so has started using the terminology of Target Zero. And if you have not looked at this website, please get the chance to do so. So if you've seen some of the advertisement, the commercials already, 8 folks on our roads die every day in the state of Florida. So we're going to start hearing about Target Zero quite a bit in the upcoming months. So we just wanted to give you kind of a lead in to what Target Zero is about. Vision Zero, you've heard a lot. Target Zero is something where we're going to work towards getting our numbers down. In January, you'll start hearing presentations about our safety action plan that we should be awarded pretty soon in the next month or two. You'll also start hearing about our performance safety measures where we're shooting for a target number to lower those numbers. So we just wanted to give you a lead in to this conversation about Target Zero to kind of get you ready in the next coming year. These are our rough months. We look at the fatalities and the crashes almost every day. November, December are tough times of the years for us. So, but it's not just about a plan, it's how we start implementing those projects with the plan that we'll come up with. But if you get a chance, look at that website. You've seen one of the most popular used commercials where the FHP trooper goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and talks about giving that message that they never want to give. So I just want to kind of give us a start towards the coming year, the end of this year. Drive safe, you guys, be alert, and we'll work on towards getting those numbers down because one is one too many.
Any questions, anyone? Good? Good. All right, thank you. All righty. That looks like all we have. Do we have any other business or items of note? Anything, any conversations while we're under the sunshine?
I'm all good, thank you.
Everybody good? All right. Well, next meeting is January 11th, Dade City. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
All right, all right.